In 1975, New York City was over $11 billion in debt, and the banks were no longer there to bail them out. Instead, the bankers made them sweat, never showed up to the meeting, and then created a committee that they controlled so that the banks could manage the city directly. This has been brilliantly documented in the Adam Curtis film, Hypernormalization.
The announcement on behalf of the controller is that the offer, which we had expected to receive and announce at 2 o'clock this afternoon, is now expected at 4 o'clock.
Well, does this mean that so far nobody wants those bonds?
We will be making a further announcement at 4 o'clock, and anything further that I could say now, I think, would not advance the interest of the sale, which is now in progress.
Does this mean that you have not been able to sell them so far today?
We will have a further announcement at 4 o'clock.
That was nearly 50 years ago, and so you can be sure that the banks manage everything now. Politicians are merely their puppets, which was recently made blatantly obvious with the public display of Dianne Feinstein and her handlers.
Pardon me? Yeah. I would like to support a yes vote on this. It provides $823 billion. That's an increase of $26 billion for the Department of Defense. And it funds priorities submitted.
Yeah, just say aye.
Okay, just aye.
Thank you.
Politicians are only there to keep the people divided and distracted, and they have so far been hugely successful at that. While a cashless society is slowly being built around us, everyone is hyper-emotional about something else and focused on fighting each other, which is most certainly exactly what the banks were shooting for. Because once they get us off of cash and completely onto a digital system, then the banks will have absolute control over each and every one of us.
A key difference with the CBDC is that central bank will have absolute control.
It's not just about digital forms of physical currency. You can have programmability, units of central bank currency with expiry dates where the government decides that units of central bank money can be used to purchase some things, but not other things that it deems less desirable, like, say, ammunition.
So you were talking about CBDC, central bank digital currency. What does that mean to you, George?
Well, a central bank digital currency simply means that we all the average Joes and Janes in society, including the businesses and corporations, now have an account with the central bank. In our case, it would be the Federal Reserve.
But isn't that Marxism, central banking?
It's absolutely 100% central planning. Because what happens now is the banking system is in charge of creating most of the new money. Now, it's a little bit different with these deficits and quantitative easing and whatnot, but usually it's the banking system. So if they keep that loan on their balance, if the bank continues to own the loan, they want to lend to someone who's going to pay them back, right?
Really?
So hopefully they're going to lend it for productive purposes, meaning the majority of money that's being created is going to create more goods and services.
Right.
And that's why you don't have the inflation, even though the money supply increases. Now, what happens...
It's called capitalism.
Yeah, and that's why the free market works.
Right.
So, and that's, by the way, why the free market creates deflation,
right?
Not inflation.
Exactly.
Prices going down.
Capitalism actually brings prices down.
Yeah.
Because you can't compete otherwise.
Yeah, which brings the standard of living for the poor and middle class up.
Yes, but they're teaching Marxism in school. That was my book, Capitalist Manifesto.
Yeah.
That whole thing is so backwards, run by school teachers. Oh my God.
Yeah, exactly. So if we move into the system with a central bank digital currency, then all the bank accounts go to the Fed, and then the Fed determines who gets the loan and why. And the big key there is the Fed doesn't have a profit and loss. They can lose money. So where a bank has to lend productively, the Fed can lend in a way that isn't productive. They can lend to whomever they want. They don't have to worry about being paid back. So that's centrally controlled money supply, debt creation. And that, to your point, is Marxism.
But it's also massive control. It's Orwell. Big Brother is watching.
Yeah.
They can tell exactly where you're spending your money, what are you spending on, and where is it?
Yeah, so going back to the IMF and this gal that's in charge that was speaking at Davos, she was saying how we need a central bank digital currency, and the global governments need to come together. And of course the IMF would manage this in the World Economic Forum, but they need to come together to create a solution for cross-border payments. This is how she's selling it, is that all these poor people have to pay Western Union, 20% fee or whatever. And she's right, but she doesn't care about that. She just cares about the solution, which is the global governments coming together with this payment system for cross-border that's seamless and free. But, of course, we're using a central bank digital currency, and then the reserve asset becomes the SDR, which is the currency of the IMF.
Special drawing right.
They have control over the money supply, and it's not the system we have now with the United States having the global reserve asset or the global reserve currency and the banking system creating that currency globally.
Right. The biggest thing with central bank, I'm not not financial. I mean, not crypto smart or anything like this, but it's Orwell's Big Brother is watching. They can track you, and the reason I like this stuff here, it's real gold. This has been here since the Earth was formed. This is silver, been here the Earth was formed. I can run with this and spend it anywhere in the world. They can't track me.
Yeah.
And so when Bitcoin came out, remember that they were saying, oh, they're going to use it for the drug trade and all that. I said, well, you think dollars aren't?
Yeah, exactly.
Give me a break. I mean, how can people be that stupid and drink the Kool-Aid from the Fed?
Well, not everybody is.
I
was in the airport yesterday, and I was going through the line, the security line, and actually saw someone wearing a shirt that said "Make 1984 fiction again."
What does 84 mean to you? Because that's a really interesting book,
Well, it's pretty much what we're seeing play out right in front of our own eyes. I mean, it was supposed to be fiction, but in my opinion, this is the objective of these Davos types, the global elite. I don't think it's a conspiracy theory. I think they're coming right out and saying that, hey, we want the world to consume less energy. We want to reduce the population, or the birth rate, they'll say, and we want to, we want power and control because it's in your best interest. Look at what the WHO came out with, this health treaty. Did you see that?
The World Health Organization.
Yeah, they came out with this opinion. I don't know if it was this proposal for a treaty where basically they control in the future every country's position on lockdowns, on mask wearing, on all of these things that we've seen play out in 2020 and 2021. The WHO wants to be in charge of all of that. So all these countries sign treaties that say, yes, we're giving our health sovereignty over to you, global elite.
But that's the World Health Organization, the World Bank. Everything's world.
Yeah.
There's no sovereign.
Yeah.
And no national.
Yeah,
world.
That's right. Well, so you've got these two opposing forces going on right now. Most of us in the real economy, and I think the people listening to this show, they want decentralization. They want control of their own destiny. Where
they want privacy also.
And privacy.
Freedom.
Yeah. And
privacy, freedom, a few words like that.
And they want it for their children.
Right.
Where these Davos types, they want the opposite. They want complete centralization because they think that all of us are inferior, stupid, dumb rubes, and we're only going to make things worse. So we need to give them all of our freedoms, all of our liberties. They need to have complete control to be able to micromanage our life, and that's the only way that their minds that we're going to serve.
Of the world's 7 most advanced economies, the G7 is launching a set of public policy principles for retail central bank digital currencies, CBDCs. Central bank digital currencies could be a digital version of money, a bit like a digital banknote that could be used alongside physical notes and coins. Unlike most of the digital money people use daily today, it would be issued directly by a central bank, like the Bank of England in the UK. And governments and central banks across the world are working together, looking into what having a digital currency might mean in practice. This includes issues that people care about, such as ensuring users' money would be safe and secure, that it could work with other ways to pay, would be energy efficient and available to everyone. A potential CBDC could offer businesses and consumers new ways to pay in the future. It's all part of the wider story of digital innovation that has delivered benefits to millions around the world and in the UK.